What if positivity isn't a personality trait, but a brain setting anyone can train? This video uncovers why the mind clings to what's wrong, even when life is going right, and how to rewire those circuits so calm, confidence, and gratitude feel natural instead of forced. Drawing on the science of the negativity bias and the brain's reward pathways, discover simple, repeatable habits that flip mental filters from threat to possibility. So staying positive becomes effortless, sustainable, and real-world effective. Expect practical tools grounded in neuroplasticity, dopamine dynamics, and attention design that can be applied in minutes a day to boost mood, focus, and motivation without toxic positivity or fluff. Picture this: 10 compliments land in the morning, 1 criticism shows up at night, and the mind locks onto the single scratch on the glass as if everything depends on it. That isn't a character flaw. It's a default brain setting tuned to spot danger faster than opportunity. The good news is that settings can be adjusted. What follows is a practical reset that takes minutes a day and rejects fake smiles and hollow affirmations. The aim here is a clean, science-backed shift. Less rumination, more clarity, less fight with thoughts, more control of what gets attention and reward. Think of it like updating the operating system that runs focus, motivation, and mood. We'll work with how the brain actually learns, through repeated, meaningful wins, so positivity stops feeling like a performance and starts feeling like gravity. Stay with this sequence and watch how the day begins to tilt toward what helps, not what harms. The switch is real, and it's within reach. The hidden setting positivity isn't a mask to wear. It's a tuning knob that decides what your brain turns up or turns down across the day. When that knob is stuck on threat, small inconveniences sound like alarms, and one sharp comment echoes louder than hours of good work. When it's tuned toward learning and reward, the same day feels lighter, more solvable, and strangely, more energizing. This isn't about pretending things are fine. It's about selecting the processing mode that keeps perception accurate while directing attention toward actions that build momentum. Think of it like recalibrating volume levels. Dial down noise that drains, dial up signals that move life forward. The path isn't motivational speeches, it's repetition of small, controllable wins that teach the nervous system a new pattern. Effort leads to payoff, again and again. That's how baselines shift. When effort and reward are paired consistently, the brain starts expecting progress, and that expectation pulls behavior into alignment. Start in the smallest space possible. Pick one task that's undeniably within reach today. Tie it to a clear cue like after coffee or right when the laptop opens. Complete it. Then mark the win with a quick note, a tick on a card, a verbal acknowledgement. That mark matters more than it seems. It tells your brain that the loop closed, that attention spent led to completion, and completion earned a reward. Repeat that loop, and the nervous system updates its priors. Action is safe, progress is likely, control is real. The setting shifts from survival only to growth capable. From there, decisions stop feeling like battles. The day becomes a series of achievable moves instead of a wall to climb. Notice how the mind treats negative inputs as urgent and positive ones as optional. The hidden setting decides that priority. Recalibration means redefining what earns priority. Real responsibilities, meaningful relationships, body care, focused work. When those are given first slots, threat signals lose their monopoly. You aren't deleting danger signals, you're balancing them with signals that build capability. This balance is how mood becomes steadier without forcing a smile. You don't chase positivity, you design evidence that your actions matter. Evidence stacks. Stacks become confidence. Confidence quiets noise. This is not about pushing harder. It's about making wins easier to start and impossible to miss. Lower friction to begin. Reduce choices. Shorten steps. Celebrate closure. Each pass through that loop conditions attention to look for what can be done now. That shift in attention is the engine. The moment the engine is running, even on low power, days stop stalling at the first sign of friction. You'll feel it when a task that used to feel heavy becomes a quick warm-up. You'll notice it when criticism stings but doesn't hijack the whole afternoon. You'll see it when sleep, food, and movement get structured not as chores, but as fuel sources for better days. The hidden setting is real, and it's adjustable. A small calibration today can change the tone of the next hour. Enough hours shift the week. Enough weeks shift identity from someone who tries to be positive to someone whose system naturally finds and builds progress. That's the point. A brain that works for you without a fight. Let's lock in the setting and keep it there by design, not by chance. The threat filter. Every brain carries a built-in threat filter that spots what's wrong faster than what's working, and it does this to protect, not to punish. That's why one sharp comment can hijack an otherwise decent day, and why a minor mistake feels louder than 5 solid wins. The filter isn't malicious, it's efficient. It prioritizes potential danger, labels it urgent, and pushes it to the front of awareness, which is why attention, memory, and decisions skew negative even when life is stable. This filter shapes what sticks to memory, so criticisms imprint deeply and praise slides off too quickly. It also shapes choices, nudging behavior toward avoiding loss more than pursuing gain, which quietly shrinks risk-taking, creativity, and momentum. In daily life, this looks like replaying one awkward moment after a meeting, second-guessing a text that got no instant reply, or obsessing over a headline that adds nothing useful to action. The pattern is predictable. Fast threat detection, slow reassurance. Unless it's trained, the filter will keep over-reporting danger and under-reporting possibility. Here's the shift. The goal isn't to mute the filter, but to calibrate it, so it flags real risks while letting through the signals that build capability. That calibration starts with naming the trigger as it happens. This is the threat filter doing its job. That label alone gives just enough distance to question the urgency of the signal. Then redirect attention to a single controllable action that earns a quick win. This doesn't deny the negative, it prevents a spiral. As the action completes, the brain registers closure, and closure weakens the grip of the urgent negative. Over time, repetition teaches the system a new rule. Not all red alerts deserve the same resources. The filter learns to differentiate between noise and actionable signal. Memory changes too. When days contain more moments of completion, the mind stores a richer map of capability, not just a highlight reel of mistakes. Watch how this plays out in common scenarios. A performance review includes one tough note among many positives. The untrained filter fixates on the criticism and rewrites the story as failure. The calibrated filter acknowledges the note, extracts a concrete improvement task, and moves attention to the first step today. A social post gets one harsh reply. The untrained filter hunts for similar threats and keeps attention trapped in the comments. The calibrated filter observes the sting, closes the app, and routes focus into a small progress task that restores a sense of control. A news headline flashes worst-case language. The untrained filter opens a dozen tabs and feeds anxiety. The calibrated filter asks one question: what is the smallest protective or constructive step available right now? The step is taken. The loop closes. The day remains intact. This is how attention, memory, and decisions stop being pulled by alarm bells. The threat filter keeps its protective edge, but it no longer dictates the entire narrative. The mind learns to privilege signals that improve the next hour. That's the pivot that restores momentum without denying reality. And it's the pivot that makes positivity feel earned instead of forced. Attention architecture. Attention is the steering wheel of mood. What it touches, it strengthens, and what it repeats, it encodes. Most days, attention gets hijacked by alerts, headlines, and open loops that feel urgent but produce no traction. That isn't a personal failure. It's architecture doing what it was designed to do: pull eyes to motion, alarm, novelty, and unresolved questions. If inputs are chaotic, attention becomes reactive. If inputs are designed, attention becomes directional. The goal here isn't to think happier thoughts. It's to construct an environment where signal outcompetes noise. Start by deciding what deserves front-row placement. Put essentials where the eyes land first. The single task for the next hour on a sticky note by the keyboard. The water bottle already filled. The shoes by the door for a short walk. Hide or delay anything that throws mental gravel in the gears. Mute non-essential notifications. Remove social apps from the home screen. Set inbox to manual fetch instead of push. Attention flows to the path of least resistance. Make the useful path shortest and smoothest. Design the feed like a training ground, not a slot machine. Following accounts or channels that model calm execution, teach useful skills, and show real process shifts the stories a brain tells itself about what today can be. Replace vague searches that invite outrage with targeted queries that generate steps. Instead of Why is everything so hard? Try how to structure 2 productive hours after work. That single swap changes the results page, which changes what the eyes see, which changes what the brain believes is available now. Curate inputs by time of day. Early hours should be clean and quiet, with zero competitive stimuli trying to steal attention before a first win is logged. Midday can handle brief novelty hits if they pay back in energy or clarity. Evenings should unwind the system, not spin it up with unsolvable problems. Treat attention as a finite budget and spend it where it compounds. Close open loops on purpose. Every unresolved notification, half-read article, or postponed reply keeps a small thread of attention tied up. Those threads accumulate and make focused work feel heavier than it is. Build a habit of loop triage. Answer if it takes under 2 minutes, schedule if it matters and needs more time, delete or archive if it adds nothing to the next meaningful move. This doesn't just declutter apps, it declutters the mind. Fewer open loops, fewer phantom pulls. Pair this with a simple rule for context switching. Only switch when a unit is complete or a timer ends. Completion gives the nervous system a signal that it can let go without scanning for threats, and timers create natural edges that protect against endless grazing. Make your workspace tell the truth about your priorities. One screen, one task, one tab, one purpose. Remove visual noise that asks for micro-decisions. Keep only what accelerates the next action in view. Put friction between you and rabbit holes. If a site tends to steal focus, require a password or timer to access it. If messages derail thinking, schedule windows where communication is the main task, not a constant background leak. Structure isn't rigid, it's permission to be present. With the right structure, attention stops searching for reasons to escape and starts digging into what matters. Architecture beats willpower because it changes the default. When the default is clean, the brain settles faster, enters deeper work sooner, and exits with closure instead of agitation. Over days and weeks, this shifts the mood baseline because attention is no longer fed a steady diet of threat and trivia. It's fed progress, clarity, and evidence that action works. That evidence becomes memory, and memory becomes confidence. Confidence quiets noise. This is how attention architecture turns positivity from a push into a pull. The environment points the way, attention follows, and mood rises as a side effect of building a day that actually moves. Reward on rails. When a spiral starts, the fastest way out isn't to reason with every thought, it's to change the state. State first, story second. Think of this as installing rails that carry attention from chaos to control in under 2 minutes. Begin by naming the moment with precision. This is a spike, not a signal. That single line separates alarm from action. Now set a tiny, concrete goal that can be completed immediately. Clear the desk surface, send one necessary message, drink a full glass of water, do 10 slow breaths with a count, take a brisk 60-second walk. Pair the goal with a novelty cue so the brain pays attention. Stand while doing it, change rooms, switch pen color, step into light. The novelty bump matters because it gives the brain a reason to mark the moment as different, which lifts motivation enough to move. Then close the loop with an instant marker of completion. A tick on paper, a short verbal yes, a physical fist clench held for 3 seconds. That marker is not cheesy, it's a reinforcement signal. It tells the nervous system that effort produced closure, and closure produced reward. This is not willpower theater. It's a fast, mechanical routine that nudges dopamine above baseline so thinking loosens, options widen, and behavior becomes flexible again. One cycle often isn't enough when the spiral is strong, so chain 2 or 3 micro goals back to back. Keep them easy and obvious. The aim is momentum, not heroics. As soon as you feel the internal pressure drop, redirect that energy into a slightly larger, meaningful task with a clear finish line. If the mind tries to return to rumination, add a second novelty cue. Change temperature with cold water on the face or hands. Step outside for bright light. Switch posture to tall and grounded. Physiology leads psychology more often than it seems. When the body informs the brain that conditions just changed, thoughts follow more willingly. Make this routine callable on demand by preloading it into the day. Place a visual card on your desk labeled Reset so you don't need to remember steps when it's hardest to remember anything. Set 2 small windows on the calendar titled State Shift, where you practice the sequence even when you feel fine. Rehearsal makes it automatic. Automaticity is the point because spirals don't schedule themselves, they ambush. If the protocol is already wired, it runs when needed without debate. That spares energy, which is exactly what a spiral tries to steal. Over time, you'll notice the distance between trigger and action shrinking. The gap where rumination usually expands gets filled with motion. Motion changes chemistry. Chemistry changes perception. Perception changes the story you tell yourself about the rest of the day. Link the reset to a personal value to keep it from feeling mechanical. If clarity matters, say out loud clarity first, then act. If stability matters, say steady now, then act. That one-liner binds identity to action, so the routine isn't just a trick. It's an expression of who you are training to be under pressure. The more often the routine ends with a clean completion, the more your brain expects that you can rescue a tough moment. Expectation is powerful. It shows up as calm confidence, the quiet sense that even if the mood dips, you know the rails to ride back. That confidence prevents overcorrection. You respond, you don't react. And because this protocol honors biology instead of arguing with it, the relief you feel isn't fake, it's earned. That's how you make positivity feel effortless during the hardest minutes, by giving the mind a short, reliable path from turbulence to traction, again and again. Baseline engineering. Short bursts feel good, but stability comes from what repeats. Baseline is the quiet setting that decides how motivated you feel before anything happens, and it's trained by the evidence your days provide. The brain updates its expectation of effort and reward through consistent bite-sized wins that are easy to start and obvious to finish. When the day is a chain of clean completions, motivation rises without pushing. When the day is a maze of half-started tasks and open loops, motivation leaks even if you worked hard. So the move here is to design for predictable traction. Front-load one meaningful win early, guard it from distractions, and mark completion so the system registers closure. That early win is not about productivity theater. It's a signal to your nervous system that you can act and succeed now. The result is a calmer start, fewer energy spikes and crashes, and a steadier mood that doesn't topple at the first sign of friction. Think in terms of timing and transitions. Mornings are best for focus-heavy work because the mind is less cluttered and decision fatigue hasn't set in. Protect that window like a non-negotiable appointment. Build short, deliberate transitions between modes to keep momentum intact. A 2-minute reset before deep work, a quick walk after it, a 5-breath pause before switching tasks. These micro-transitions act like shock absorbers that prevent attention from shattering. Midday is the danger zone for drift, so insert a small, guaranteed win there, a tidy deliverable that restores control and reminds your system that progress is still in motion. Evenings should cool the engine. Lower stimulation, fewer screens, simple closure rituals. Sleep quality is the master lever for tomorrow's baseline. Treat it like a project with inputs you can control: light, temperature, timing, and a consistent wind-down. Reduce variability in effort-to-reward ratio across the day. If everything requires maximum effort for unclear payoff, the brain conserves energy and mood sinks. Counter that by mixing task sizes and pairing harder efforts with visible outcomes. Keep at least one task per day with a feedback loop you can see: a finished page, a solved problem, an organized space, a completed workout. Visible outcomes anchor belief. Belief shapes expectation. Expectation sets baseline. If a day gathers too many invisible tasks, add a quick visible task at the end to close with certainty, not ambiguity. This isn't busy work. It's a baseline protector that tells the system the day landed. Guard against hidden drains. Context switching, vague priorities, and constant checking quietly pull baseline down. Commit to one-task blocks with boundaries. Use simple rules that save willpower. One screen, one tab, one timer. Put friction on behaviors that fracture attention and remove friction from those that build it. The more automatic these constraints become, the less energy you waste policing yourself. That saved energy flows to action. Action creates outcomes. Outcomes raise baseline. This is the compounding effect you're after. Most people try to feel better first, then act. Baseline engineering flips it. Act in small, reliable ways that prove to your brain that effort pays off and mood follows. The goal isn't a perfect routine, it's a forgiving rhythm that survives imperfect days. If you miss the morning win, take the next available slot and land a smaller one. If the afternoon derails you, use a 2-minute reset and finish with a visible close. If an evening gets noisy, shrink the win down, but keep it. Consistency beats intensity here. Over a few weeks, you'll notice that positivity no longer needs pumping up. It shows up as an after effect of a day designed to work. That's baseline, a quieter, stronger floor that holds you even when the weather changes. Language rewrites. Words aim attention. Ask a tired brain the wrong question and it will fetch the worst evidence it can find. Ask a better question and it will surface options that change the next hour. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's about rewriting the prompt that your mind is constantly answering. When phrasing is saturated with absolutes like always, never, ruined, or impossible, the nervous system hears threat and mobilizes to protect, not to build. Protection is useful in real danger, but it crushes curiosity and chokes momentum in everyday challenges. The move here is to shift from problem-saturated language to solution-seeking language without losing accuracy. Replace "why am I like this" with "what small variable can I adjust in the next 10 minutes?" Swap "what if this fails" for "how do I test this with low risk?" Trade "I can't focus" for "what is the smallest step that would earn me 5 minutes of traction?" Each rewrite changes the search your brain runs, and search results shape behavior. Treat language as interface design. Default phrasing should be simple, specific, and anchored to controllables. Today, not someday. This hour, not this year. This task, not the whole project. Tether statements to actions the body can execute immediately. If a thought arrives heavy and global, shrink it until it fits in the present tense and a single environment. Instead of "I'm overwhelmed by everything at work," try "I'm choosing one deliverable and sending a clean draft in 25 minutes." That sentence is a map. Maps reduce anxiety because they turn fog into coordinates. Keep the syntax tight. Verb, object, boundary. Send the update by 2:30. Walk outside for 5 minutes. Clear the top of the desk. When the sentence points to a move, the body follows faster, and the mood often follows the body. Audit the questions you ask the world. Search bars and feeds answer exactly what they're asked. If you type "why is everyone toxic?" you'll get a river of anger. If you ask how to have a hard conversation without drama, you'll get methods. The first teaches your brain that the world is hostile. The second teaches that skill matters. One leads to freezing, the other to practice. Build a small library of replacement prompts you can reach for under pressure. How can I make this 20% easier? What would this look like if it were simple? What is the minimum viable version I can deliver today? These aren't slogans, they are steering inputs. The more you use them, the more your brain anticipates useful answers, and that anticipation feels like hope that you can act, not vague optimism that things will somehow improve. Catch the hidden absolutes that sneak into self-talk. Always late, never consistent, not a morning person. Absolutes lock identity and kill experiments. Replace them with frequency and context. Often late when I don't prep the night before becomes a fixable pattern. Then attach a cue and a tiny action. Set clothes and bag by the door. Prep the first task list before shutting down. Describe reality with enough precision that actions suggest themselves. If a sentence doesn't hint at a move, rewrite it until it does. Keep tone neutral and clinical, as if you were a coach tasked with improving a skilled player. Precision removes shame without removing accountability. Use language to close loops. When a task is done, say "done" out loud and log it somewhere you can see. When a setback hits, label it clearly, extract the next controllable step, and commit in a short sentence. "I missed the window. I'm taking a reset walk. I'll send the draft at 4:15. This might feel small, but it trains the nervous system to associate challenges with a move instead of a spiral. Over days, those sentences become reflexes. Reflexes save energy. Saved energy becomes progress. Progress is the most convincing positivity there is because it doesn't argue with feelings, it outnumbers them with evidence. Language rewrites aren't decoration, they are levers. Pull the right ones and the mind starts giving you the kind of answers that make staying positive feel like the natural consequence of how you think and act. Friction physics. Willpower is expensive, friction is cheap. If the path to a good behavior is smooth and the path to a draining behavior is rough, the day tilts in your favor without a single pep talk. Start by making the right actions, the easiest actions. Put the next task where your eyes land first when you sit down. Keep one pen, one notebook, one clear checklist on your desk, and remove every extra object that asks a question you don't need to answer. Pre-fill the water bottle, lay out the workout clothes, stage the ingredients for a simple meal. When the start line is visible and close, initiation costs drop, and the mind doesn't waste energy negotiating with itself. That saved energy becomes momentum, and momentum is the most reliable mood booster there is because it's evidence in motion. Raise friction on the loops that drain you. If a site steals focus, require a password manager you must open deliberately. If a feed pulls you into outrage, move the app off your home screen and disable badges and sounds so nothing blinks for your attention. If late-night scrolling wrecks sleep, plug the phone across the room and charge it on a timer outlet that cuts power at a set hour. Friction isn't punishment, it's design. You're not banning anything, you're asking your future self a simple question. Is this worth a little extra effort? If it is, you'll do it consciously. If it isn't, the impulse will fade before it turns into a habit you didn't choose. The more your environment answers small choices for you, the more your mind is free to handle the choices that actually matter. Build rails inside your tools. Use full-screen modes that block visual noise. Set your inbox to manual fetch so messages arrive when you ask, not when they want. Create default templates for the tasks you repeat. A draft skeleton for updates, a checklist for deep work setup, a shutdown script for the last 10 minutes of the day. Templates remove micro-decisions and make quality the default. Add time boundaries that encourage closure, a visible timer for focused blocks, a short alarm for breaks, a clear end-of-day cue like dimming lights, or a specific playlist. Boundaries give your nervous system edges so it can let go without scanning for what's unfinished. Let go is not laziness, it is recovery. And recovery is the source of tomorrow's focus. Stage transitions like a pit stop. Before deep work, run a 2-minute reset. Clear the visible space, breathe slow, open only the tools needed for one task. Start the timer. After deep work, step away and move your body to flush the residue. Before switching projects, write the next step for where you're leaving off so re-entry is easy. Transitions eat an enormous amount of attention when left to chance. When designed, they become calming rituals that signal safety and direction. You'll feel the difference as a quiet click when you sit down. There's nothing to fight, only a track to follow. Make friction personal to where your day actually slips. If mornings drift, remove choices the night before and put the first action on your keyboard so it's impossible to miss. If afternoons sag, place a small, rewarding task in a visible spot to catch you before the slump becomes a slide. If evenings explode into busy work, schedule a brief closing routine that locks the door on work and opens the door on rest. The point isn't perfection, it's a bias toward ease where it helps and effort where it protects. Over a few weeks, you'll notice that the good behaviors feel less heroic and the bad loops feel less automatic. That's friction physics working for you. Positivity begins to feel effortless, not because life got easier, but because the environment stopped tripping you and started carrying you. The system does the heavy lifting. You get to move. The neuromodulator map. Every feeling state sits on chemistry, and learning to work with that chemistry makes positivity feel earned, not forced. Think in 3 lanes. For focus, you want the system that sharpens signal and quiets noise. Acetylcholine helps the brain lock onto what matters, while epinephrine adds alertness. You create this mix by pairing a clear target with a narrow field. One task, one timer, one screen, strong light on the desk, posture tall. Add a brief brisk movement or a splash of cold water to wake the system, then begin within 60 seconds so the arousal turns into traction, not anxiety. For motivation, dopamine is the lever. It rises with pursuit, prediction, and novelty, not just rewards. Design your work so progress is visible. Small chunks, fast feedback, immediate markers of completion. Rotate novelty in low-stakes ways, like changing location, tool, or sequence, to keep the pursuit loop fresh without chasing cheap thrills that crash later. For calm and recovery, serotonin tracks safety, connection, and satiety. Earn it with daylight exposure in the morning, a consistent wind-down at night, and real breaks that involve breathing, slow movement, or time outdoors. Treat these as non-negotiable inputs, not luxuries. Avoid the common trap of spiking motivation and starving the baseline. If every win is huge, rare, or unpredictable, the system learns that effort is risky and mood becomes brittle. Mix intensities. Pair mid-level efforts with quick, certain payoffs most days, then sprinkle in harder pushes when energy is high and recovery is available. Keep celebrations brief and specific so the brain links reward to the exact behavior you want repeated. When energy dips, downshift the task size but keep the loop alive. A small completed action preserves the expectation of progress, which protects chemistry better than any pep talk. Use light, temperature, and posture as fast dials. Bright light early tells your clock it's time to be alert. Cool the room slightly when focusing to increase wakefulness. Sit or stand tall to signal readiness. These signals are simple, but the brain listens to them more than to arguments. Map your personal response profile. Some people lock in better with silence, others with low instrumental sound. Some find that short, intense bursts followed by micro-recoveries produce the steadiest output. Others prefer longer, smoother blocks. Track what conditions consistently precede good work, clean decisions, and easier mood, then reproduce those conditions on purpose. Chemistry is responsive to patterns. If you feed it the same cues at the same times, it starts to anticipate the state you're aiming for. Anticipation alone raises readiness, and readiness turns into smoother starts. On the calm side, anchor 1 or 2 social or sensory rituals that reliably downshift the system. A short call with someone steady, a slow walk at dusk, a few minutes of diaphragmatic breathing, a warm shower before bed. The aim isn't perfection, it's reliability. Reliable inputs stabilize the floor you stand on. Watch out for hidden dopamine drains masquerading as rewards. Endless browsing, volatile news, and constant novelty feel stimulating but leave the baseline lower than before. Replace them with skill-based rewards, learning a small technique, improving form in a workout, cooking something simple and new. These deliver satisfaction without the crash because they tie reward to mastery, not randomness. On tough days, lean on a 2-minute state shift to regain control, then step into a task with a guaranteed finish line. Close the loop, mark the win, and let the chemistry reinforce the story that action works here. Over time, this menu becomes second nature. You'll know how to dial focus when it's time to build, how to dial motivation when it's time to start, and how to dial calm when it's time to recover. That's the real meaning of effortless. Not the absence of effort, but a system that responds predictably when you ask it to. Negative rewards audit. Not all rewards lift you. Some keep you stuck while pretending to help. A negative reward is anything that feels gratifying in the moment, but leaves attention scattered, energy lower, or confidence thinner. Rage scrolls, doom headlines, complaint loops, performative multitasking, even checking metrics every 10 minutes. Each delivers a small hit that teaches the brain to expect satisfaction from what doesn't move life forward. The fix isn't guilt, it's clarity. Run a simple audit across a single day. Note every behavior that leaves you more restless after than before. Track the time, the trigger, and the payoff you were secretly chasing. Relief, stimulation, validation, escape. Once named, the spell weakens. Then replace, not remove. Swap random stimulation with skill-based satisfaction. If scrolling fills a gap, load a 2-minute skill drill. If venting is the default, switch to a 1-line problem-to-action translation and make one micro move. Keep the replacement easy, specific, and immediately rewarding so the brain learns a new source of payoff. Treat this like debugging your reward system. Identify your top 3 high-frequency drains. For each, set a friction gate and a replacement ritual. If the drain is outrage media, require a deliberate step to access it and cap the time. The ritual could be a quick movement break, a single outreach to someone steady, or a 2-minute progress task tied to your current priority. If the drain is complaint bonding, redirect the first minute into naming the concrete next step. Ask for one resource or suggestion, and then act. Complaints crave consensus. Progress craves motion. Give your brain the satisfaction of moving, not just agreeing. If the drain is compulsive checking, convert it into scheduled reviews with a checklist and a decision rule. If below target, take one corrective action now. If on track, close the loop and move. Structure turns anxious energy into useful pressure. Look for stealth reinforcers that masquerade as productivity. Endless organizing, constant tool switching, and elaborate planning without execution feel busy and safe but erode trust in your own follow-through. Reframe them as support tasks and force them to serve a deliverable. Can this planning block produce a concrete output today? If not, shrink it. Then tie it to a visible finish line so the brain gets the satisfaction of done, not just thought about. The more your day generates true closures, the less tempting hollow rewards become because the nervous system prefers the deeper calm that follows real progress. That calm is the root of sustainable positivity. It isn't hype or denial, it's the biologically honest signal that effort earned something you can see. Use the audit to reprice your habits. Ask one question before attempting behavior. How will I feel 10 minutes after? If the honest answer is worse, insert a decoy behavior that gives a small lift without the hangover. 2-minute walk, glass of water, 5-breath reset, inbox 0 for just one thread. These small pivots are not trivial. They are new associations. Over a few weeks, the brain stops chasing the cheap hit and starts seeking the steady win because the steady win now feels better. You've retrained the reward predictor. That predictor is the compass that decides where attention aims next. Aim it at actions that leave you stronger after, and positivity becomes an effect, not an act. The audit isn't a one-time cleanse. It's an ongoing calibration that keeps your reward system honest, your mood stable, and your drive aligned with what actually builds a good day. Micro-consistency engine. Consistency beats intensity because the brain trusts what it sees often, not what it hears once. Build a simple loop that runs even on messy days, and you'll feel motivation stop spiking and start humming. The loop is cue, tiny action, instant marker, streak. Choose a reliable cue anchored to something that already happens. After coffee, after opening the laptop, after brushing your teeth. Attach a tiny action that is too small to fail. Write 3 focused sentences, clear the top of the desk, send 1 meaningful message, do 10 slow squats. Close with an instant marker that your brain cannot miss. Tick a box, say done out loud, drop a bead in a jar, snap a time-stamped photo of the finished microtask. Log the streak where your eyes land daily so the loop becomes visible. Visible loops become magnetic. The nervous system starts expecting completion, and expectation lowers the energy needed to begin. Keep the action small enough to survive bad days. On a strong day, you can expand from 3 sentences to 3 pages, but the loop counts as satisfied at 3 sentences. That rule protects the streak from perfectionism. If you miss a day, make the comeback automatic. The next day, do the tiny version first thing and mark it twice, once for today and once as a recovery tag. Recovery tagging teaches your brain that breaks don't break you, returns strengthen you. That belief matters when life gets noisy because it keeps identity tied to showing up rather than to flawless performance. Reduce negotiation by preloading decisions. Decide the time window, the workspace, the exact first action the night before. Set the file or tool you need as the only thing open on your screen. Put the checklist on your keyboard so your hand touches it before it touches anything else. If you're switching between projects, maintain a handoff note, what you just finished and the next atomic step. Handoffs crush the startup cost tomorrow because you don't have to wonder where to begin. When the entry cost is low, the loop runs. When the loop runs, mood lifts without forcing it. Use the smallest reward that feels real. A quiet yes, a checkmark, a brief look at the streak line inching forward. Avoid rewards that hijack attention or undercut momentum. The best reinforcement is progress that you can see and repeat. If you want to make it social, tell one steady person the rule you're following and send a simple daily proof. Keep it boring and consistent. Accountability should reduce drama, not add to it. If travel or chaos hits, shrink further. 2 sentences, 1 minute of order, 1 message. Let the loop live at the smallest viable level rather than pausing it. Paused loops die. Tiny loops adapt. Stack loops to build identity. 1 for focus, 1 for body, 1 for order. Each loop should be short, clear, and trackable. Over time, the streaks become evidence that you are the kind of person who lands small wins daily. Evidence changes self-talk without affirmations. When setbacks arrive, you won't need to conjure positivity because your history reminds you that you know how to move. That quiet confidence is the point. Micro-consistency is how positivity becomes the side effect of a day that works. Not a mood you chase, but a rhythm you keep. Naturalistic stress tests. Plans look strong until life shows up. The real test of a positive, steady mind is not a quiet morning. It's the moment tension spikes, the inbox floods, or a stray comment hits like a jab. This is where the system proves itself. Think of stress tests as scheduled rehearsals for the exact scenarios that used to derail the day. Pick one common ambush, a curt email, a project setback, a bad sleep night, a headline that stings. Run it through the playbook in real conditions. First, label the trigger precisely to keep it from expanding into everything. Sharp email, sleep debt, uncertainty surge. Then swap analysis for action. Use a 2-minute state shift to change chemistry on purpose. Stand up, breathe slow and deep with counted exhales, step into brighter light, drink water, complete a tiny task with a visible finish line. That small closure breaks the freeze and returns a sense of control. From control, choose the next concrete move that matters, not the loudest distraction in reach. Repeat this sequence until the spike falls below a level where thinking is useful again. Stress collapses nuance. The goal is to restore it. When the mind is flooded, it defaults to either-or thinking and catastrophizing. Pull it back to gradients and options by asking 2 clean questions. What is true right now without prediction? And what is one reversible step that improves this hour? Truth strips out imagined futures that drain energy. A reversible step lowers risk enough to begin. Beginning ends stalemate. Once motion starts, keep the unit of work small and bounded so you can close the loop. Closure teaches the nervous system that spikes end. The memory of an ended spike is powerful. It becomes a reference point the next time tension rises, shortening the duration of the hit. Build a handful of reliable drills you can run anywhere. A 90-second reset walk, preferably in daylight. A cold water face rinse to snap attention back online. A 2-minute desk clear that transforms visual chaos into a single-point focus. A 1-line commitment sent to a steady person to anchor accountability without drama. A scripted response for tense communication that buys time and clarity. Received, reviewing will respond with options at 3:30. Scripts reduce the chance of overreacting while underslept, underfueled, or overstimulated. Pair drills with time edges. If you're spiraling, give the drill 2 minutes and then move to a deliverable. Time-box decisions protect against endless rumination disguised as preparation. Treat sleep debt, illness, and unexpected delays as part of the design, not exceptions. On low-energy days, shrink goals but keep the loop alive. Replace a heavy deep work block with a light version. Outline instead of draft, gather sources instead of synthesize, clean the workspace instead of reorganize the entire system. The win is preserving identity as someone who moves forward, even if the step is small. Protect the evening wind down more fiercely after a hard day so recovery can restore baseline faster. Remove stimulating inputs at least an hour before bed, make the room cooler and darker, and choose a simple closure ritual. This is not indulgence. It's preparation for a better tomorrow. When the news spikes anxiety, change the frame from consumption to contribution. Limit exposure to a short scheduled window, then pivot to one small, constructive act inside your circle of control. Help one person, progress one task, strengthen one system. Contribution flips helplessness into agency. Agency reduces stress reactivity. Over time, these tests rewire your default response under load. You stop trying to feel good first. You act in ways that make feeling good more likely as a side effect. The proof is in the aftermath. You'll notice the spike ends sooner, the damage is smaller, and the bounce back is quicker. That's a stress-tested system doing what it was built to do. Keep you effective, grounded, and ready for the next good move. Effortless isn't passive. Effortless sounds like luck, but here it means the system carries more of the weight so the mind can move without friction. The work isn't to force a mood. It's to install structures that make the right move the easy move, the useful thought the first thought, and recovery the default after stress. Think of it as building rails for attention, rewards, and language so they guide you when energy is low and life is noisy. That's not passivity, that's craftsmanship. You've tuned the hidden setting with daily wins, trained the threat filter to flag what's actionable, designed an environment that points attention where it compounds, and rehearsed rapid state shifts that turn turbulence into traction. You've mapped your chemistry so focus, drive, and calm are dials you can turn, and you've replaced hollow hits with skill-based rewards that leave you stronger. You've made consistency tiny and visible so identity stacks on evidence, not intention, and you've stress-tested the system in the wild so it holds under load. This is how positivity stops feeling like a performance It becomes the after effect of days that actually work. When the rails are in place, you don't need to wrestle for momentum or bargain with every impulse. The first step is clear, the next step is close, and the finish line is visible enough to draw you forward. On hard days, the loops shrink, but they don't break. On good days, you stretch, deliver, and close cleanly. Over weeks, the baseline rises. Over months, the narrative changes from trying to be positive to being the kind of person whose system produces progress, steadiness, and real optimism as a byproduct. Effortless isn't the absence of effort. It's the presence of design that makes effort feel natural, repeatable, and rewarding. If you want proof, take the next 24 hours and run one state shift, one early win, one friction fix, and one clean wind down. Mark each. Watch how the tone of the day bends. That bend is the signal you've been looking for. The system is working, and it's built to last. There's a switch inside the mind that decides what gets louder and what fades, and today proved that switch can be set on purpose. The work wasn't about forcing a smile. It was about building rails that carry attention to what compounds, pairing small effort with real reward, and giving the brain a clear map for focus, drive, and calm. When spirals hit, the fastest exit was a state shift, not an argument with thoughts, and each closed loop became proof that action changes chemistry, and chemistry changes the story of the day. By curating inputs, rewriting prompts, and swapping hollow hits for skill-based wins, positivity stopped being a performance and started showing up as the after effect of systems that work in the real world. Take the next 24 hours and run a live test. Log one early win, one 2-minute state shift, one friction fix, and one clean wind down, then mark them so the nervous system sees closure and expects progress tomorrow. If the day gets noisy, shrink the steps, but keep the loops alive, because reliability beats intensity when training a new baseline. This is the moment to move from hoping to engineering. Design the conditions, follow the rails, and let the system carry more of the weight until effort feels natural and optimism feels earned.